Fragment of the transcript of the Interrogation of Dr. I.V. Krenov, June 17, 1954. Document provided by the Central Archive of the FSB of the Russian Federation. Investigator: when did you first become involved in the project? Doctor: I joined the project in 1945. Were you immediately aware of its objectives? My understanding was partial at first. Please elaborate on that. Initially, when I began my work, I believe the project was focused on research intended for military applications. What led you to that conclusion? Did someone explicitly inform you? No one gave me any direct information. At that time, communication was very vague. You are aware of the atmosphere during those years. There is a pause. Viktor Vladimirovich invited me to join his team. Professor Ivanov. Yes, that's correct. Professor Ivanov reached out to me in 1944. During our initial discussions, he mentioned that there were tasks set by the military, but he did not specify a particular project at that time. When I accepted the invitation and officially joined the Institute in 1945, he eventually briefed me on the project, albeit in very general terms. What exactly did he say? He described the project as focusing on the deep resuscitation of wounded soldiers on the battlefield. Of wounded soldiers, or those presumed dead. The term deep resuscitation, as defined by Viktor Vladimirovich, referred to attempts to bring back to life individuals who were considered deceased. Naturally, there were caveats to this process. What kind of caveats? Our research concentrated on the resuscitation of the brain. It was essential for the brain to remain as undamaged as possible for any chance of revival. Did you conduct experiments on corpses? Yes, we did. Specifically, on the corpses of prisoners. Yes, to my knowledge, that was the case, however. Pause. What were you about to say? I was aware that these individuals were prisoners, as it was commonly understood. However, I have no concrete evidence to support that they were killed expressly for our experiments, but it was crucial to minimize the time that elapsed between a person's death and the moment their body arrived at your operating table. Is that correct? Yes, we conducted a variety of experiments. The primary criterion was to ensure the preservation of the brain. When did you learn the true aims of the project? That revelation came in early 1946. How did this information come to you? During a group meeting, Professor Ivanov provided us with a comprehensive briefing. What exactly did Professor Ivanov convey? He was quite concise. He stated that Soviet scientists were tasked with the goal of bringing Vladimir Ilyich Lenin back to life. He specified that this needed to be accomplished within a strict time frame of 1.5 years, as it had to coincide with the 20th anniversary of the October Revolution. What was the reaction from the team? We were taken aback. I specifically asked Viktor Vladimirovich, what about Vought? Everyone was aware that Lenin's brain had been removed shortly after his death and sent to the Institute for Brain Research, where it was dissected into 30,000 pieces. Essentially, it had been destroyed. How did Professor Ivanov respond to your question? He claimed that the brain that we were working with was someone else's. Did you believe his assertion? I had no reason to doubt him at that time. But you did not have definitive knowledge that the brain you later worked on was indeed Lenin's. No, I did not possess that certainty. What kind of difficulties arose during the project? We faced challenges, particularly concerning the transplantation of certain organs that had been removed when preserving Lenin's body. For instance, we needed his eyes. Were these organs sourced from corpses? Please answer. No, they were taken from living individuals, specifically prisoners who had been sentenced to death. Were there many prisoners involved? I cannot provide an exact number. My focus was strictly on my assigned tasks. Was the work ultimately successful? Not entirely. We encountered numerous complications because the operations were intricate and delicate. Often, the organs failed to integrate properly, leading us to replace some internal organs with artificial devices equipped with infusion systems. Your colleagues have testified that you utilized proto-blood for your experiments. Can you confirm this? Yes, I can confirm that. From what I understand, the introduction of proto-blood was crucial for the project's viability. Do you know what proto-blood entails? My understanding is superficial. It's not my primary area of expertise. Proto-blood was managed by a specialized group with whom we had limited interaction. But you do understand the general concept, correct? Yes, in broad terms. Please provide the exact date of your involvement. It was September 25th, 1947, late in the evening. Who was present at that time? I was there, along with Professor Ivanov and assistants Lebedev and Bezrodnov. Were there any individuals present beyond the staff? Yes, Stalin, Molotov, and a man whose identity I could not discern. Was the individual the People's Commissar Yazov? No, I would have recognized him without a doubt. Can you provide a description of this man? Yes, vital signs were stable, but there was a noticeable lack of intelligence. What do you mean by that? Vladimir Ilyich could say, and occasionally made erratic movements with his hands. However, up until that evening, he exhibited almost no reactions to external stimuli. He barely moved. He was unable to move. While some sensitivity returned to his hands, he had no feelings at all in his legs. Are you certain he could say? Yes, I am certain he could see everything, though he did not respond in any significant way, except for rare instances. Please clarify those instances. We presented Vladimir Ilyich with photographs of people he had known during his life. What was his reaction? He only reacted twice. The first reaction occurred when we showed him a photograph of his sister Maria. His hands began to tremble uncontrollably. The second instance was when we displayed a picture of one of his political comrades. His head jerked, and he trembled the moment I presented the photograph of Sverdlov. Are you certain it was Sverdlov? Yes, I am sure. We documented it in the observation diary. It is all recorded. Could Vladimir Ilyich speak? No, he was unable to speak. Moreover, he could not hear either. Did he consume food on his own? No. We administered nutrition artificially. We inserted a flexible tube through his mouth directly into his esophagus. Describe the events of the evening. We attempted to stimulate Vladimir Ilyich in hopes of bringing him to consciousness. Did your efforts yield results? Yes. He opened his eyes and appeared to see those around him. Was there any observable reaction from him? Initially, no. For about a minute, everyone simply stared at him. Eventually, Comrade Stalin approached him closely and began to pose questions. What specific questions did he ask? The questions were similar to what you are asking me now. Please continue. Vladimir Ilyich remained unresponsive at first. However, then Comrade Stalin leaned in and asked him directly, "Do you recognize me?" Is that a verbatim quote? Yes, it is. Are you certain? Yes, I am certain. Proceed. After Stalin's questions, for the first time, Vladimir Ilyich began to exhibit signs of cognitive awareness. Initially, his face displayed confusion, which quickly shifted to anger. Did he make eye contact with Stalin? Yes, he looked directly at him. He also seemed to utter something, or rather, he wheezed. What exactly did he say? I could not decipher it. Are you absolutely sure? Yes, I am sure. Continue. Then, unexpectedly, Vladimir Ilyich lunged at Comrade Stalin, grabbing him by the throat. The movement was rapid, catching everyone off guard. It seemed like a reflex action. He apparently did not recognize Stalin. I can only interpret this behavior as a result of some form of mental breakdown, given that the brain had been preserved for so many years. How did Stalin react to this? Stalin quickly seized Vladimir Ilyич's wrist and forcefully pulled his hand away from his neck. Did he say anything during this encounter? He used profanity. What exactly did he say? He called him a bitch. Was this directed at Vladimir Ilyich? Yes, he was looking directly at him when he said it. Go on. It appeared that Vladimir Ilyich was about to topple from his chair, but we soon realized that his movement was deliberate. He grasped Comrade Stalin's hand. Did he attempt to bite him? Yes. He bit Comrade Stalin's hand. We rushed in and managed to pry open his jaw. After that, Vladimir Ilyich lost consciousness. Was the bite severe? He bit down hard enough to draw blood, but overall, the injury was not serious. After the incident, Comrade Stalin and the others exited the room. What is your personal assessment? Was the project terminated due to this incident? I believe so. Within a month, the project was shut down. Vladimir Ilyich was taken away, and we were arrested. I had initially thought that other researchers would continue the work, but Professor Ivanov later informed me that this was unlikely. Can you recall exactly what he said? He remarked, "The best taxidermist in the Union is already on his way to Moscow." He laughed after saying that. After the project was closed, what happened to you and your colleagues? We were taken into custody shortly after. There was a sense of panic among the team. Professor Ivanov seemed particularly worried. Did he say anything to you during that time? Yes. He mentioned something about safeguarding certain information. He implied that not everyone would be treated the same way once we were detained. What do you mean by not everyone would be treated the same way? He suggested that some of our colleagues might be used as scapegoats to protect those higher up in the hierarchy. There was an unspoken understanding that knowledge was power, and some individuals might be sacrificed to shield others. Did you have any conversations with Professor Ivanov about the methods used in the experiments? There were hushed discussions among us, especially about the ethics. We often speculated on the nature of the proto-blood and its origins. Some believed it was derived from a rare source, and there were whispers that it had been tested on living subjects prior to our experiments. What specifically did you hear about the proto-blood? It was said to contain elements that could temporarily mimic life processes, but it also had unpredictable effects. Some believed it could alter mental states, causing agitation or aggression in subjects. Did you ever witness any side effects during your experiments? Yes, there were instances. Some subjects reacted violently, exhibiting erratic behavior, which added to our fears about the process. It created a tension among us. We were never quite sure how each experiment would unfold. Did you ever have doubts about the legitimacy of the project? In the beginning, I had reservations, especially when I learned the full extent of our objectives. The idea of reanimating someone who had been dead for years felt grotesque, almost sacrilegious. And yet, you continued to work on it. I felt trapped. The pressure to succeed was immense. We were told that this project could redefine the boundaries of science and medicine. There was a part of me that wanted to believe in that potential. What did you know about the individuals you were working with? We had a mix of scientists, some genuinely passionate about their work, others driven by ambition. I sometimes wondered if anyone truly grasped the moral implications. The atmosphere was thick with secrecy, and paranoia crept in. Can you elaborate on the atmosphere during those meetings with Stalin and the others? It was tense. Stalin had an air of authority that was intimidating. We often felt we were being scrutinized, as if our fates hinged on our ability to impress him. I remember a lingering sense of dread, especially when he asked questions that felt probing, almost invasive. What was Stalin's demeanor like when he interacted with the subjects? He was surprisingly calm, almost detached. He would watch intently, but never show much emotion. It was unsettling to see him treat something so profound with such cold detachment. Did you ever feel he had ulterior motives for the project? Yes. There were murmurs that he wanted to leverage the results for political gain, to project an image of Soviet supremacy. The implications of reviving a figure like Lenin could be monumental in reinforcing his power. Did you discuss these concerns with anyone else? I confided in a few trusted colleagues, but we were cautious. The walls had ears, and one could easily find themselves in a precarious situation. Can you recall any specific incidents that heightened your fears? There was a day when we were experimenting with a reanimation process. and one of our subjects reacted violently, almost as if they were aware of their state. It shook everyone in the room. We realized that the lines between life and death were becoming dangerously blurred. After the project was shut down, what did you think would happen to the subjects? I feared that they would be disposed of, especially those who had shown signs of instability. There were discussions about erasing evidence, and I could not shake the feeling that those who no longer served a purpose would simply vanish. Were there any lingering effects on you after the project? The memories haunt me. I often have nightmares about the faces of those subjects, particularly the ones who displayed awareness. I question whether they truly were lost to us, or if we played a role in their suffering. What do you think will happen to you now? I fear for my life, especially with the connections I made during that time. I can't help but think that those who know too much often pay the highest price. One final question. If given a chance, would you do it all over again? I can't say I would. The cost of that knowledge weighs heavily on me. Sometimes ignorance feels like a mercy. Years ago, work at an old warehouse with a guy named Buck. We are the youngest and newest guys there, so all the old guys used to dump their grunt work on us. One night, we are working an overnight shift. We did them occasionally. The old fuckers make us organize the attic. It's not really an attic, just a small room that oversees the warehouse. While digging through boxes, Buck finds a large black case. Inside is a ventriloquist puppet. Ugly little bastard. Its face looks leathery and smushed like one of those fake shrunken heads, only with white skin and rosy cheeks. It's got round, glassy blue eyes and a big smiling mouth full of little white teeth. Pig related, it's the closest thing I could find, but imagine a dark, leathery face. Eerie as hell. Buck is a huge practical joker. He says we should freak out the other guys with it. We'll just keep moving the doll around the warehouse until those old alcoholics think it's moving by itself. Keck, I'm in. First place is the forklift. The doll is pretty big, so we managed to place it with its hands on the steering wheel like it's driving. Now we wait. After a bit we hear somebody walking up. We peek around the corner. Nobody there. But there is the distinct sound of somebody walking around, dragging their feet. Probably a fucking rat, says Buck. A minute later, someone is coming. Peekaboo.jpg. It's one of the older guys. He walks up to the forklift, hops into the seat, turns it on, and rides off past us. No dummy to be seen. What the fuck? Where is it? Then Buck spots it. It's way down on the other side of the warehouse, by the front door. We kept it locked on night shifts. It's just lying there, face up. At this point, my X radar is going off. How in the hell did it get way down there? Buck just goes over and picks the dummy up. He says we'll put it in the bathroom this time. Those old fucks take shits every 5 minutes. He sits the dummy down on the toilet seat with its head turned, like it's watching the door, pulls out his work knife, and puts it in the puppet's hand. I wish I'd taken a pic. It looked like one of those cursed images I see here sometimes. We go hide around the corner. Now we wait part 2, Electric Boogaloo. I ask Buck, how the fuck did the dummy get so far from the forklift? He just shrugs and plays on his phone. After a minute we hear the bathroom door open. Buck looks up. I look at him. He looks at me. The bathroom door slams shut. We did not even hear anyone approaching. Then we hear the same sound as before. Every day I'm shuffling .mp4. What the hell? It's moving quickly away from the bathroom door. We peek around. Too late. Nobody is there. We can hear the shuffling moving down the next aisle. I am officially in X mode. The damn dummy walked off by itself. Buck calls me crazy, but he seems kinda sketched. He double checks the bathroom. It's empty. Says Buck. He took my fucking knife. We look around for a few minutes, but the dummy is gone. Scared Pepe.jpg. Boo. We both jump and turn around. It's the warehouse manager, Miguel. He's holding the dummy. All he says is, You two are fucked up. Apparently, Miguel and the other guys were in the back of the warehouse. There is a big shelf back there with packed boxes. Makes a great hiding spot. They were just hanging out talking when they heard someone shuffling around in the other aisle of shelves. Miguel looked around the shelf and saw something dart into a nearby aisle. Something small, moving upright like a person. FYI, these guys were mainly Mexican and Salvadorians from the country. Being an X-File and all, I used to talk to them about the weird stuff they'd see out there, and nearly all of them had stories. These guys were incredibly superstitious. Miguel, though, is a tough fucker, not afraid of anything. He rushes toward the aisle, and the shuffling stops. He finds the puppet, lying face up, with Buck's knife next to it. Miguel pockets the knife. It's mine now, caballo. That was what all the older guys called Buck. But you can have your little voodoo doll back. He tosses it at us, and walks off. I figure the best thing to do at this point is to put the dummy back in its box. We go back to the attic. Lock the little fucker up in its case. Later, Miguel comes up and tells us to go organize some chairs. Right away, boss. Buck and I finish about an hour before the end of our shift. Maybe we can leave early. We go find Miguel to ask him. Look everywhere. Then we check the attic. Miguel is in there, passed out. Buck shakes him awake, and Miguel starts mumbling. I notice the ventriloquist case is open, and point it out to Buck. Miguel wakes up, glassy-eyed, and we assume he's been drinking up there. He seems confused. Says the last thing he remembers is checking his phone for the time. Then Buck was shaking him awake. He has no idea how he got in the attic. He checks his pocket, and his phone is missing, along with Buck's knife. But even worse, his warehouse keys are also gone. He's going to catch hell from the boss for that. There is no way he can lock the front door without the keys. Oh well, too bad. We gotta go. Buck and I go to clock out and head for the front door. What the fuck? It's wide open, and the keys are dangling from the lock. We told Miguel, and he breathed a sigh of relief. We talk about how that could have happened, and I bring up the empty dummy case. Miguel shakes his head and laughs. You guys are fucked up. He goes back to work, and Buck and I leave. Buck and I quit not long after. Nothing strange ever happened again. I'm from Central Illinois, and I've got one, or rather my dad does. First off, some background. My father worked for 20-some years at a local Central Illinois news station, WCAA Central, Goons, and covered stories from tornadoes tearing apart towns to chemical explosions at UIUC. He took me out to Steak and Shake a few nights ago, and we just started talking. When he starts talking about his old job, he'll always get onto telling stories about an escaped mental patient or a really stupid robber or something which particularly stands out to him. It's part of the reason he loved his job so much. Always something new. He worked as an anchor in his later years, but in his earlier ones he was a reporter and did a lot of live stories and continued to follow some of them after they fell out of public interest. What part of his career this story fits into, I'm not entirely sure. However, I know cell phones were very new and late at the time. He told me about the disappearance/death of a man from Gifford, if memory serves, a medium-sized town from central/northern Illinois. The guy was a mailman who made deliveries down the same road for numerous years. Apparently pretty reliable and not prone to doing anything rash or blatantly stupid. The road he frequented on his route was through a rural part of the country, most of which was shaded by trees. Trees in central Illinois, I'm not making this up. Anyway, the road continued shaded until it reached a dip in the road where the road ran across a small creek and bridge. He normally drove this way and is not used to anything unnatural. One day, while making the rounds of routine, he does not account for the recent spring showers and drives into the dip and finds it completely flooded. His mail truck tips. He attempts to escape, doesn't, and drowns. The search for this missing man begins, and this is where my dad comes in. He gets on the story, and like any reporter, tries to keep on top of it. Days turn into weeks to months. The truck is found, but no body. Mainstream media is all about the story. After a while, the news begins to focus elsewhere. When it looked like no body would be found, the station basically dismissed the story and continues with new work. Time passes and the hunt, which had quieted down, takes another turn. Someone on the search team decided since they could not find him, why not humor themselves and call a psychic? Nothing else is working, right? My dad figures he'll follow up the story, since it now has become a little more interesting. He heads out with the search team, a party of 4 or so, in a rowboat with the state-of-the-art cell phone. Police on one end, psychic in Peoria on the other. The officers in the boat paddle out onto the lake as the psychic gives them directions from the dead man's point of view. As they paddle, she suddenly tells them, "I see a man in a red raincoat. I'm reaching for him. If only I could grab him, I might be safe." Sure enough, man in front of the boat is wearing a red jacket and looking over the edge of the boat. The psychic is like 40 some miles away, no live feed, no fucking cameraman, and she knows there is a guy in red. Just stick your hand into the water. She beckoned as the dead man. Reach out and help me. The guy in the front of the boat reaches down into the water and feels something. A human hand. The missing male man is pulled up from the murky lake, found after a few months of waiting down there for the man in red. My father did not say more about it, only that it was a story he would never forget. Got some OC from last night. Was hoping I would find one of these threads when I got back. Anyways, Greentext. Me and my friend John are sitting in Valera at about 10 at night, sipping on peace tea, sucking up some free Wi-Fi. Our friends, Dylan, Kyle, and Caleb, get done with whatever they were doing at school and roll up. Valero is like our small town's Walmart. We talk, decide to buy some Monster, tea, and Mountain Dew, and build up a bonfire to chill around all night. Run by my house, acquire M44 Nugget, Mossberg 500, already carrying Glock 20. Go to John's house, fuck huge bonfire built up in the middle of this huge field, surrounded by miles of woods on 3 sides. Pretty legit. Field is about 6 acres wide. We all back trucks up and do some good tailgating, grill some steaks that Kyle brought, having a good time talking about shit. Start hearing a shitload of coyotes, howling and yelping and stuff. John says there's always this pack of coyotes that hang around but are scared of humans. Well fuck, alright. Wanted to shoot something. 2 hours later, need to piss. Go behind truck and let it flow. 4 sets of eyes, reflected back from the light of the fire. Nope. Draw Glock 20. Take a couple of pot shots and they disappear. Get spotlight out and go over, everyone armed, to check for blood. Of course nothing there, but some footprints that looked like a cross between a bear and a deer track. Alright, can we not do this, please? Go back to the truck and keep talking, but keep guns ready. We hear some god-awful screeching coming from our 1 o'clock. Oh shit. Shine spotlight where it came from, nothing there. It sounded really close to us, but it would not have time to run away. Put down my shotgun and look back at the group. There is a fucking guy standing on the other side of the fire. He is just smiling away and like giggling in a really deep voice. We all know he needs to die. We all unload on it, stir up ashes from the bonfire because of muzzle blast. Takes the longest 30 seconds of my life for the smoke to clear. He is still standing there, but with his back to us. He says, in an inhumanly deep voice, "You shouldn't have fucking done that." He just starts screaming, and he falls to the ground and starts convulsing. I yell at everyone to get in the trucks and speed back to fucking Valero to talk. Out of the field in about 5 seconds. See Ethan's truck swerve a little in my rearview mirror, and see a thing that looks like a bear on steroids, barely lit up by his headlights. Look back onto the road, it's right in front of me. I hit it, doing 85, and it falls across my hood and falls up. Ethan passes me up, noping so hard. Finally get to Valera. Bitches must have thought we were crazy as shit, walking into Valera, holding long guns, and open carrying my Glock. Everybody knows everybody, so we tell them it's all good, and don't worry about it, and they're like, fuck, alright. Talk about it, and decide to go back to my house and stay there. As we get up, the guy who was at the field walks in, all casual, wearing clean clothes, and just stares at us as we walk past. Fuck no. Get in trucks. Go to my house half an hour away. Dude's staring at us from inside, and as I pull away, he starts to smile. Get to my house. Invite one chick over for a couple of hours. It's now about 2:30. Arrives in her truck. We will call her Jennifer. She says she was creeped out because she saw a dude with long hair and jeans on the side of the road trying to hitchhike 3 times on the way to the house. Ah, shit. Keep hearing knocks on the door. We keep 2 people at each door. You can't enter anywhere else in the house. Like, it's not possible at all. While watching the back door of Jennifer, knocks cease, and she does the whole scared girl thing, and we end up having a quickie. Pretty great. It was directly in front of the door, on a chair about 2 feet away. No possible way of entry. The other watch team kept their eye on the door the entire time. Hear screaming and turn around. This motherfucker is doing the same convulsing shit he was doing in the field, in the middle of my house. We don't even ask questions. We hop in trucks and leave. We all see him like 5 times. We just drive around, occasionally stopping to talk. Keep seeing this guy all around town, in his hairy form and in his human form. We fill up at Valero again, and we drive 2 hours to Dallas and stay at a hotel. Decide it's safe after 2 days. Saw him multiple times on the way up there though, but ignore it. Come back this morning and have not seen him yet. So fucking done.